So we'll start here. The threat actor came in, and the first part that got hit was production. Now, production was being managed. All the machines on the production floor were being managed by an outside third-party managed service provider. And the threat actors had actually compromised the third party and had taken over their remote access tools and then used those remote access tools to get into this particular customer's network and start hopping around all over the production systems. Now, the production systems were just sitting on the exact same network, pretty much unfiltered to everywhere else. So once they got on, they were able to go everywhere else. Now, once they got access, and this is a very common thing, the Black Hat guys went out to the dark web and said, hey, we got access to X, Y, and Z corporation's network. Who wants to know how to get in, right? And they'll actually sell access. So it's very common that when you have an initial attack, an initial penetration of the systems, you'll actually see 2 to 3 other folks come in because that access and that knowledge this organization is vulnerable is sold. That's a fairly hot commodity, right? So then a second group came in, not Black Hat. We don't even know who this one was, but they came in and they compromised the Citrix NetScaler. Now, the way they got in here is that there were multiple NetScalers. One of them was in disaster recovery. One of them was in production. And somebody had forgotten to patch the disaster recovery unit. And so that unpatched NetScaler had a vulnerability. That new threat actor came in, took advantage of that vulnerability. It was able to turn that NetScaler to effectively a tool that allowed them to come in and remote access a whole bunch of stuff in the environment as well. So now we have 2 people running around doing bad things. And then, like I mentioned before, they attacked the backups. Now, they attacked the backups for 2 reasons. First, they wanted to wipe the backups out so that they couldn't recover once the ransomware hit. But secondly, there was a bug in the Veeam backup stack that allowed them to pull credentials across the board. So any kind of administrative credential that was in that backup system used to protect the CAD systems, the financial systems, the production systems, all that stuff, they're able to use those credentials in the backup system to kind of move around the network. The next place they hit was all the intellectual property, and they started scraping. And so they started using an attack called living off the land, or a technique called living off the land. They actually used the IT department's tools to back up all of the data that they wanted to steal. And then they used a VPN tool that was already on the systems to connect to the threat actor's system and to start sending those backups up to them with all the data. And they hit the administrative side of the house, stealing financial data and whatever else they got a hold of. So as you see, starting with just remote access tools from a third party, a trusted third party, this was a supply chain attack. It happened there first. They get in, they tell another group that there's an opening. The new group comes in, and now you have 2 threat actors just running rampant across the network because there wasn't any stopping them moving from sector to sector to sector. Additionally, this is kind of a weird one. The IT folks actually had been told by the managed service provider that the managed service provider had been breached the week before, but it happened to be on a Friday. And they looked around, they're like, hey, it doesn't look so weird. And they went home for the weekend and kind of just stopped watching. Super common, sounds crazy, but this happens all the time.